The Grand Council Chamber floated in orbit above the planet Celestra, a shining sphere of green and blue. The room was enormous, filled with representatives from every major race in the Galactic Union. Some were small and thin, like the Velari, with pale blue skin and large black eyes. Others were huge and muscular, like the Krath, with scales covering their arms and heads. The chamber was a place of power and politics, a place where the fate of thousands of worlds could be decided in a single day. Human Ambassador Evan Brooks stood quietly at the edge of the room, watching the other delegates argue over maps and data screens. He was tall and lean, with short brown hair and eyes that looked like they could see everything. He wore a simple black uniform, clean and neat, but without the golden decorations many of the other races wore. He did not need decorations. His reputation as a human diplomat and strategist spoke for itself. Evan glanced at Captain Laura Pierce, who stood next to him. She was the commander of the human fleet in this sector. She had short blonde hair, a serious expression, and eyes that seemed to look through walls and barriers. Laura had fought in 3 major conflicts in the outer systems. She knew humans could fight, and she knew that many in the council did not respect them. Today, the humans were here for one reason: to warn the council. The Core Dominion, a warlike empire in the Outer Rim, was preparing for a full-scale invasion. They had already attacked a few border worlds, and their armies were growing stronger every day. Evan and Laura had proof. They had scans, reports from scouts, and even intercepted messages. But most of the other races did not want to listen. The chamber was noisy. The air vibrated with chatter, arguments, and occasional shouting. Delegates pointed at maps and at each other. The humans, small in number compared to the dozens of alien races present, waited politely for their turn. When finally called, Evan stepped forward. His voice was calm, but firm. "The Core Dominion is not bluffing," he said. "They are preparing for war. We have seen fleets gathering. We have seen weapons being tested on uninhabited worlds. We have proof that the next target will be the outer colonies of the Union. If we do not act now, millions will die, and many systems will fall." He paused, letting the words sink in. Many of the delegates shook their heads, muttering among themselves. Some laughed quietly. One of the Velari representatives, a thin, blue-skinned female named Lyra, spoke first. "Humans exaggerate," she said. "Your people have a tendency to panic. You are young. You do not understand diplomacy. You rely too much on instinct and emotion. In Porter, in Police. The Carter, you can Cisnus a 5. On the round. My num. We want today. You are young." Evan did not flinch. He had heard this before. Humans were often dismissed as reckless, impulsive, or emotional. But they were also strong, smart, and willing to act when others hesitated. Laura stepped forward and added her voice. "The Dominion has already attacked our scouts. They destroyed 3 observation stations last week. If we do not prepare, the border colonies will be the next targets. Humans are not exaggerating. We are giving you facts." A large Krath delegate slammed his fist on the table. The sound echoed through the chamber. "Humans, you come here to threaten us with your tales of fear? We have survived thousands of years of conflict. We do not need your advice." Evan felt the heat of the room rise, but he kept his calm. He took a deep breath. "We do not threaten, we warn. If you continue to ignore this, your fleets will not be ready. Your colonies will fall, and your people will die. This is not a threat. This is truth." There was a pause. Some delegates whispered to each other. Others rolled their eyes. One of the older representatives, a gray-skinned Velari male named Orin, spoke slowly. "Humans, your words are harsh, but your style is worse. You demand attention, but you offer no respect for our traditions. Perhaps you should learn patience before speaking again." Evan's jaw tightened. Patience had its limits. Respect must be earned, not demanded. And humanity had learned long ago that sometimes the only way to be heard was to take action. Laura placed a hand on Evan's shoulder, a silent support. She knew what he was thinking. She could see it in his eyes. If the council would not listen, then humans would act in their own way. Sometimes walking away spoke louder than words. The arguments continued for hours. Charts flashed across the walls. Data was presented and questioned. Aliens argued over who should act first, who should contribute ships, and who should protect which sectors. Every point humans made was met with skepticism or ridicule. Every warning was ignored or dismissed. Finally, Evan stood. He cleared his throat and spoke with quiet authority. "We have done what we can here. We have given proof, facts, and advice. We have tried to cooperate. But it is clear that our words are not enough. We cannot waste more time in a council that refuses to see the truth. Humans will withdraw from this session. We will act on our own if we must. And we will act swiftly to protect those who need protection." There was a sudden murmur in the chamber. Some delegates gasped. Others stared. Confused. No one expected humans to leave. No one thought they would have the courage to walk away from the table in the middle of an emergency. Evan turned and began walking toward the exit. His steps were steady, firm, unyielding. Laura followed him, then the rest of the human delegation. One by one, humans left the chamber. The room grew silent, almost empty of the energy that humans had brought. The silence was heavy. Aliens looked at each other, unsure of what to do. The council leaders called for them to return, to sit, to continue the discussion. But the humans did not stop. They did not turn back. They were gone. Outside the council chamber, the humans gathered in their transport ship. The ship was sleek and fast, designed for quick movement and efficiency. Captain Laura Pierce took the pilot seat. Evan stood beside her, watching the planet below. "Do you think they understand what this means?" Laura asked. "They will," Evan said. "But it will take time. And by then, we will have already protected who we can." The ship lifted off from orbit, leaving the glittering council world behind. They moved through the star lanes with quiet purpose, carrying messages, fleets, and plans that the council had refused to heed. Meanwhile, back in the council chamber, the remaining delegates tried to regain control. Some were angry. Some were embarrassed. Some were afraid. For the first time in centuries, the arrogance of the council was shaken. The humans had shown that they did not need approval, that they would act on their own, and that their decisions could not be ignored. On Earth, the human fleets prepared for the next step. Ships were fueled, weapons checked, and communications secured. Captain Laura Pierce inspected her crew personally. "We may be small in number," she said, "but we are strong, we are smart, and we do not wait for permission when people are in danger." Evan Brooks joined her. "Our message to the galaxy is clear," he said. "Humans will not be ignored. Humans will not be pushed aside. And if the core dominion tries to spread fear and death, they will find that humans do not retreat. They do not surrender. They do not fail." The humans moved silently through the stars. Their actions would soon be noticed, not by the council, but by the galaxy itself. And when the core dominion finally struck, they would learn that underestimating humanity was the gravest mistake they could make. For now, the council waited, confused and uncertain. But the humans did not look back. They had a mission, and they would complete it with focus and courage. The galaxy had ignored their warning. Soon, it would remember them, and it would remember the moment humans walked away from the table and refused to return until their voice was respected. Evan Brooks sat in the command center of the ship, watching stars streak past the viewport. Laura Pierce tapped her controls, plotting the fastest route to the border colonies. They were ready. Humans had made their choice, and the galaxy would tremble when their actions began to unfold. No one in the council could stop them. No one could argue against their determination. Humans had walked away, yes, but they had not left. They were coming back, stronger and smarter than anyone expected. And the first lesson the galaxy would learn was simple. Do not underestimate humans. The stars stretched endlessly before them. The humans moved as one, united in purpose. They carried hope for the innocent, warning for the foolish, and strength for the battle that was coming. They were young in the eyes of the galaxy, but their courage, intelligence, and unity made them a force no one could ignore. The humans had walked away from the table, but they were already preparing to change the course of history. After leaving the council chamber, the human delegation moved quickly to their transport ships. The atmosphere was calm but tense. Each human knew that their next moves would change the course of the galaxy. They had warned the council, but no one listened. Now, it was up to humans alone to prepare for what was coming. Captain Laura Pierce checked her ship systems for the 5th time that hour. The engines were ready. The weapons were loaded. The navigation systems were synced with fleet coordinates. Every human officer was focused. There was no room for error. Laura looked at Evan Brooks and nodded. He returned the nod with a small, tight smile. Humans had a plan, and they would follow it with precision. Evan called Lena Carter, a junior human diplomat, to his side. Lena had stayed behind to manage communications with the other human outposts and colonies. She had a calm mind and an ability to stay composed under pressure. Lena, Evan said, send messages to every human station in the outer sectors. Tell them to prepare for withdrawal. Tell them to secure civilians and critical systems. Do not wait for orders from the Union Council. Act as if no one will come to help. Because they won't. Omli Road. 1. Lena nodded and started typing commands into the system. Her fingers moved quickly, sending encrypted messages across hundreds of light years. Humans on remote colonies received the instructions almost instantly. Ships left ports. Engineers began reinforcing defenses. Civilians were moved to safer areas. Even the small settlements in unimportant star systems followed the human directives without question. Meanwhile, back in the Union, the absence of human delegates was beginning to cause confusion. Council members tried to continue their meetings, but the empty seats of humans created an awkward silence. Many species had depended on human knowledge, technology, and advice for years. Without them, certain defense networks began to fail. Trade routes broke down. Border patrols became less coordinated. The Union had ignored warnings, and now they were seeing the first consequences. In space, near the outer rim, human ships moved swiftly. Captain Laura led a small squadron of patrol ships to check on border colonies. They scanned the planets carefully, looking for core Dominion movements. On several worlds, the signs were clear. Abandoned outposts, destroyed stations, and faint distress signals. Humans moved quickly to repair systems, rescue survivors, and secure vital infrastructure. Evan watched reports come in. He saw fleets failing where human engineers had not been present. Supply lines were broken. Civilian transport ships were trapped. The Union Council's arrogance was becoming visible in ways they could not ignore. But Evan did not rejoice. He knew the cost of inaction. He knew the consequences of a galaxy unprepared. On one small planet, the human team arrived to find an attack had already begun. Core scouts had burned a research station and killed the guards. Laura led a strike team to evacuate survivors. The humans worked fast and efficiently. Within hours, every civilian was safe aboard the ships, and the enemy scouts were neutralized. Laura looked at her team and said, "This is what we do. We protect lives, no matter who listens or ignores us." Lena continued her communications work, coordinating with human colonies farther away. She spoke to governors and fleet commanders, giving them direct orders. "Do not wait for the Union," she said. "Protect your systems as best you can. Make every decision as if your planet is your responsibility alone." Many were shocked at first. Human colonies had always relied on the Union Council for guidance. Now, they had to trust themselves and trust human instructions. But Lena's calm and steady voice gave them confidence. Meanwhile, back in the council chamber, panic began to spread. Systems that had depended on human engineers started failing more rapidly. Sensors went dark. Communications jammed. Border planets were suddenly vulnerable. Some council members began to realize the humans had not been bluffing. Some even attempted to send messages, asking them to return. But the humans had moved beyond the council's authority. They would act on their own terms, and no one could stop them. Evan and Laura met in the command room of the human flagship. Maps of the outer rim flickered on the walls. Red dots marked core Dominion fleets. Blue dots marked human outposts. Green dots marked Union-controlled planets still functioning. Evan studied the map. "The Dominion is moving faster than we expected," he said. "If we do not act, they will reach the inner sectors in weeks." Laura nodded. "We are preparing a containment strategy. We cannot hold the entire line, but we can slow them. We can save the colonies we can reach first." Evan sighed. "And the rest?" Laura's eyes were steady. "We do what humans do best. We adapt. We survive. We protect." The human fleets began executing precise maneuvers. Ships were divided into fast strike teams and defensive groups. Engineers were deployed to planets under immediate threat. Medical teams traveled with supply convoys. Every human ship, every team, knew its role. Humans had no time for political debates. They had a mission, and the mission came first. Across the outer sectors, human actions began to attract attention. Other species watched the fleet movements on sensors. Some were curious. Some were frightened. Some tried to understand why humans were acting alone. The more intelligent species began to realize something they had ignored for too long. Humans did not need approval to act, and when humans acted, they acted decisively. In one remote system, Mara Lewis, a human strategist, received a report. A core fleet was approaching a small colony. The planet's defenses were weak. The human strike team had to act fast. Mara calculated the quickest path. She coordinated with pilots and engineers. Within hours, the humans had positioned themselves in orbit. Their sensors scanned for enemy ships. Their weapons were ready. And when the core fleet arrived, they were met with precise, coordinated fire. The battle was short. Human tactics surprised the enemy. They had expected slow responses from a galaxy distracted by politics and arrogance. They were wrong. Humans struck with speed and intelligence, destroying several enemy ships and forcing the rest to retreat. Civilians cheered from orbiting ships, grateful for the humans who had saved them. Back on Earth, news of human actions spread quickly. The media celebrated the courage and efficiency of humans operating independently. Governments praised the fleet. Families watched in awe as stories came in of small human teams saving entire colonies. The world began to understand something the Union Council had ignored for years. Humans were a force to be reckoned with. Lena sent another message to the remaining colonies. "Continue following human instructions," she said. "Trust your people. Trust your training. Protect lives first. The Union may fail, but humanity will not." In the council chamber, some delegates began to speak in hushed tones. "We should have listened," said one. "We ignored their warning. Now they are showing us what they are capable of." Another muttered. "We cannot control them. They act independently. We may have underestimated humans for the last time." Evan Brooks received reports from all sectors. Ships moving, colonies secured, civilians safe, enemy attacks delayed. He felt a quiet satisfaction. This was not about pride. It was about duty. Humans were fulfilling their responsibility. The Council's arrogance had failed. But humans would not fail. Captain Laura Pierce looked at the stars. "We are doing what we came to do," she said. "We protect life. We save what we can. And the rest will see the truth soon enough." Evan nodded. The galaxy is learning a lesson. When humans act, they act for everyone, not for politics or rank. They act with purpose, intelligence, and courage. And when they walk away from the table, everyone will notice. Everyone will remember. The humans moved from system to system, always precise, always prepared. Colonies under threat were reinforced. Supply lines were restored. Medical teams treated the wounded. Every action reflected human values: efficiency, intelligence, courage, and compassion. Meanwhile, the Union Council scrambled to respond. Their fleets were slow and uncoordinated. Their diplomats attempted to recall humans, but every message went unanswered. The humans were beyond their reach. They acted on principle, not permission. The galaxy was beginning to tremble, not from war yet, but from the realization that humans did not need anyone's approval to act. Evan and Laura held a meeting on the flagship. "We will continue to protect what we can," Evan said. "We cannot save everything, but we will save those who need help most. We will show the galaxy that humans do not wait for councils to make decisions. Humans act." Laura nodded. "And when the core Dominion advances further, they will meet us head-on. They will learn that humans are not easy to defeat. They will learn that intelligence, courage, and unity matter more than numbers or arrogance." Across the galaxy, humans continued to move silently but decisively. Engineers repaired stations. Ships moved at maximum speed. Medical teams attended the wounded. Every human knew their role. Every human understood the stakes. And every human acted with the certainty that they were doing what must be done, no matter what the Council thought or said. By the end of the month, several key colonies were secured entirely by human teams. Core Dominion scouts reported resistance they had not expected. Union systems that had depended on human guidance began to recognize the gap they had created. The humans had shown that they could protect themselves and others without anyone's approval. Evan Brooks looked at the map in the flagship again. He saw the colonies saved, the fleets in place, and the enemy movements delayed. He allowed himself a small smile. This was only the beginning. Humans had made their choice. They had acted when others hesitated, and the galaxy would remember this lesson. Captain Laura Pierce leaned back in her chair. "We are doing well," she said. "But the real test is still ahead. The Dominion is not finished. The Council is still blind. And we have to be ready for whatever comes next." Evan nodded. "We will be ready. Humans do not give up. Humans do not back down. And humans never ignore a chance to protect life." And so, the humans continued their mission, moving faster than anyone expected, saving lives, repairing systems, and showing the galaxy that even when ignored, humans would act and the universe would take notice. The stars stretched endlessly before them, and humans traveled through them with purpose. The galaxy had ignored their warning, but the humans had acted anyway. And soon, every system would learn the cost of ignoring humanity. The galaxy had barely noticed the human withdrawal at first. The Union Council continued its meetings, trying to manage the border sectors without human guidance. They assumed the humans were exaggerating the threat of the core Dominion, as they always seemed to think humans were overly dramatic. But the Dominion was patient. And it was clever. They had been preparing for this moment for years, quietly building fleets and weapons while the Council argued over minor disputes. The first attack came without warning. A small border world, home to several thousand civilians, reported explosions on their outer stations. Union sensors tried to track the enemy, but many had failed because human engineers had withdrawn weeks earlier. The core Dominion fleet struck quickly, using stealth technology and hit-and-run tactics. By the time Union reinforcements arrived, the colony was mostly destroyed, and the Dominion had vanished into the void. News of the attack spread rapidly. Panic began to rise among the Union members. Some council representatives shouted at each other, blaming anyone but themselves. Others sent desperate messages to the humans, asking for immediate help. But Evan Brooks and the rest of the human delegation remained silent. They had warned the council. They had prepared their own defenses. Now, the council would have to face the consequences of ignoring them. Evan stood on the bridge of the human flagship, observing reports from the border colonies. Red dots on the map indicated core attacks. Blue dots showed human-controlled systems. Green dots marked Union colonies, still functioning without human support. "They've started," Evan said quietly. "The council ignored us. And now the Dominion is moving faster than expected." Captain Laura Pierce looked at the star map beside him. "We can't save every world," she said. "But we can save the ones we reach first. The rest will have to wait." Evan nodded. "We prioritize life over politics. We save who we can. That is all we can do." Evan. Human strike teams were already moving. Ships sped through star lanes, landing teams on threatened colonies. Engineers repaired critical systems, while Marines defended the civilians. The humans worked like clockwork, their efficiency unmatched by any other species in the galaxy. Every decision was precise, every action calculated, and every movement coordinated. On one small mining planet, Mara Lewis coordinated a defensive strategy. The core Dominion had deployed a fleet of 30 ships, intending to destroy the mining station and capture its resources. Mara analyzed their movements. She assigned fast attack ships to intercept the Dominion scouts, while heavier vessels defended the colony. Engineers reinforced the mining station's walls and shield generators. Medical teams prepared for casualties. The Dominion fleet arrived at the planet, expecting minimal resistance. They were wrong. Human ships struck first, disabling several of the enemy scouts before they could report back. Precision strikes took out the Dominion's main weapons, forcing them to retreat. The humans had saved the colony with minimal damage. Civilians cheered from orbiting transport ships, grateful for the humans who had arrived just in time. Meanwhile, the Union Council continued to falter. Panic spread through their ranks. Systems that had depended on human oversight began failing rapidly. Supply chains were disrupted, leaving colonies isolated and vulnerable. The Council attempted to coordinate fleets, but their efforts were slow and disorganized. Every day that passed without human intervention brought more losses. Evan received a message from Lena Carter, who was monitoring communications across the Outer Rim. "They are testing the defenses, looking for weak points. Human fleets are holding the lines, but it is only a matter of time before they strike harder." Evan clenched his fists. "We will hold. We always hold. Humans do not retreat." In orbit around a border colony, Captain Laura Pierce led a human strike team against a core landing force. The Dominion had deployed ground troops to take control of key facilities. Laura coordinated the human Marines, giving clear orders. "Secure the population centers first," she said. "Neutralize enemy positions without risking civilians. We act swiftly, and we act together." The battle was intense but short. Human Marines moved with precision, avoiding unnecessary risks while taking down enemy positions one by one. Engineers restored power to critical systems, preventing further damage. Within hours, the Dominion forces were pushed back into orbit, where human ships forced their retreat. Civilians were evacuated safely, and the colony's infrastructure remained intact. Back on the flagship, Evan watched reports from multiple fronts. Red dots indicated core activity, but blue dots showed human success. "They are fast. But we are faster, he said. They may strike again, but humans will be ready. Even the Union began to notice the humans' efficiency. Some council members whispered to each other, acknowledging the truth they had refused to see. We underestimated them, one said. We ignored their warnings, and now we are paying the price. Another added, they are saving lives we could not protect. We relied on arrogance instead of action. Evan remained focused on the mission. He did not celebrate the humans' victories. He understood that this was only the beginning. The core Dominion was ruthless and persistent. They would continue attacking, testing human defenses, and searching for weak points. Humans had to be ready for the long fight. In another system, Mara Lewis faced a difficult decision. 2 colonies were under simultaneous attack, but there were only enough ships to defend one immediately. She analyzed the situation. One colony had a larger civilian population but weaker defenses, while the other had stronger defenses but fewer people. Mara prioritized life over strategy. She sent the fleet to protect the larger population first, knowing that humans had the ability to reinforce the other colony later. The choice proved correct. The colony, with the larger population, survived with minimal damage, while the smaller colony held long enough for human reinforcements to arrive. Mara's logic and quick thinking had saved hundreds of lives. Throughout the galaxy, humans continued their work. They repaired stations, protected civilians, and defended colonies. They acted independently, without waiting for the Union Council. Every success reinforced the lesson the Council had refused to learn. Humans were capable, decisive, and unafraid. On Earth, news of human actions inspired the population. Families followed reports of human fleets, saving colonies, defending civilians, and slowing the Dominion advance. Governments praised the fleets, understanding for the first time the true power of humanity. The world watched as humans acted with courage, intelligence, and unity, proving the Council wrong. Meanwhile, the core Dominion began to realize their mistake. They had underestimated humans, assuming that the withdrawal from the Council meant hesitation or weakness. They were wrong. Humans acted quickly, precisely, and with purpose. Every attack they faced was met with a coordinated response that disrupted enemy plans. Dominion commanders grew frustrated, realizing they had misjudged the humans entirely. Evan Brooks received a report from Lena Carter. Dominion fleets are regrouping. They are preparing a larger strike. They have realized humans are the main obstacle. Other Union systems are still weak, but the Dominion is focusing on human defenses now. Evan nodded. Then we prepare. Humans do not cower from threats. We learn, adapt, and fight. They will find out soon enough that underestimating humans is a grave mistake. Captain Laura Pierce called a meeting with her senior officers. The Dominion will attack again, she said. They are learning from our responses. They will test our limits. But humans do not retreat. Humans do not fail. We act. We protect. And we endure. Every life we save is proof of our purpose. SI. All. Braze. The officers nodded. Each understood the gravity of the situation. The Dominion was powerful, but humans were smarter, faster, and united. Their strategy relied on intelligence, courage, and precision, not just sheer numbers. As the days passed, the core Dominion launched repeated attacks on border colonies. Each time, human teams responded with skill and speed. Colonies were saved, lives were protected, and enemy advances were delayed. Reports spread through the galaxy, highlighting humanity's effectiveness. The Union Council began to panic, realizing they had ignored the humans for too long. Evan Brooks watched the reports come in. He saw the successes, the lives saved, and the Dominion's growing frustration. He felt a quiet satisfaction. But he did not celebrate. The war was not over. Humans had done well. But the next phase would be even more challenging. Mara Lewis received intelligence about the Dominion's next planned attack, a large fleet targeting multiple colonies simultaneously. She studied the data, calculating the fastest and most efficient response. "We divide our forces strategically," she told the team. "We cannot be everywhere at once. But we can maximize the lives saved and the damage prevented. Humans act with precision and intelligence. That is our advantage." Evan Brooks joined the strategy session. "We prepare for the larger battle," he said. "Humans do not rely on chance. We plan, we act, and we protect. Every colony we save weakens the Dominion. Every life we protect strengthens humanity's reputation in the galaxy." Captain Laura Pierce looked at the fleet reports. "The Dominion believes we are just a small resistance. They do not understand humans. They do not know that we act decisively, that we adapt quickly, and that we protect what is most important. When they attack, they will learn this lesson." And so, humans continued to fight, defend, and protect. The galaxy began to notice. Systems that had once ignored them now watched in awe as humans moved faster, acted smarter, and saved more lives than anyone else. The core Dominion learned, slowly and painfully, that humans were not to be underestimated. Evan Brooks stood on the bridge of the flagship, watching the stars streak past the viewport. "We have done well," he said quietly. "But the real test is coming. The Dominion will strike harder. The Union may fail, but humans will endure, humans will protect, and humans will act. Always." The stars stretched endlessly before them, and humans traveled through them with purpose. They had warned the galaxy, acted independently, and begun to shape the outcome of the coming war. The core Dominion had underestimated humanity, and soon, every system would feel the consequences of that mistake. Humans had withdrawn from the council table, but they had not abandoned the galaxy. They acted with courage, intelligence, and unity. And the universe would learn that underestimating humans was the gravest mistake any species could make.